Summer is finally here. Time to get off your phone, stop binge watching Billions or Ballers, I'm never sure if those are the same show or not, and crack a book. But what does your favorite summer read say about you? Some pretty mean things, to be honest. She's kind of a bitch, and I'm your real friend, so I thought you should know. Here to give us some book recommendations that will only speak well of you is Jessica Stockton Bagnulo, co-owner of Greenlight Bookstore. Welcome back, Jessica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So when we were talking about having you on for this segment, you mentioned that your store manager might be good because he or she was a really good hand seller. What does that mean?
I guess that's a little bit of a jargony bookstore thing, but we call it hand selling because it's when you actually take a book and put it in a customer's hand. But it's just when someone comes in and they're like, I'm looking for something to read, and you're like, well, what kinds of things do you like? What's the last book you read that you really love? What do you hate? And then you're really curating a book for them and finding it and literally putting it in their hand. So this is kind of a version of hand selling that we're doing today.
Got it. So it's someone who's really good at making individual recommendations.
Exactly.
Are there competitions for that? There should be.
Not formally, although we do have our staff picks are pretty closely watched, like who's is selling the best on any given day.
Got it. Are there awards? Just glory.
Only glory and fame, yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to give you the opportunity to hand sell me some books.
Awesome.
All right, what if I'm a person who really wants a good, weepy beach read? I want to be in full tears at Jacob Riis Beach. What would you recommend?
Sometimes that's really what you're looking for. So the one I picked for that reader is Ocean Vuong's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. So Ocean is an incredible writer. He's a poet. We've had him at Greenlight a couple times for our poetry salon, so you know he's incredibly eloquent and it is going to move you. This is fiction, but there are a lot of autobiographical elements. It's about a young queer man from Vietnam, and it's addressed to his mother, with whom he has a really problematic but loving relationship. So you know it's going to be dark. There's going to be crying. There's going to be like self-examination, and like all of your relationship stuff is going to come spilling out, but it's going to be in this incredible, gorgeous prose that you just like can't stop thinking about. So you're going to cry, but it's going to be so worth it, and you're going to fall in love with Ocean.
I have really wanted to read this. I know his poetry. Also great beach read because his name is Ocean. So that hits a couple different notes there. All right, what about the type of book that you're embarrassed to be seen reading in public, so you have to buy it as an ebook, read it on your Kindle, and when somebody asks what you're reading, you say Middlemarch for the third time?
I have had books like that. So this one is a little bit of a variation on that theme. So you might not mind people seeing the cover of this book. It's the memoir by John Waters, Mr. Know-It-All, but you don't want people reading over your shoulder because John Waters is dirty. Like every chapter is going to have some parts that are totally X-rated, but he's so much fun. I mean, I feel like John Waters is like the original punk. Like he's just interested in all of humanity and like all of their funkiness and weirdness and darkness and grossness, and he just has fun with it, and he's incredibly generous. This is written as a like self-help kind of memoir, although it's obviously very tongue-in-cheek because no one is John Waters and no one's ever going to be John Waters, but it's great stories about his life and all the people he's known and all the crazy stuff that he's done. But yeah, it is definitely like something that you're going to want to kind of like make sure no one's looking over your shoulder.
You're going to be reading on your Kindle and you're going to be blushing on the train.
Exactly. You're going to be
Is this his first memoir or book of personal essays?
No, he's written a couple. He wrote a great one about taking a road trip across America, and he's written other ones about like film or other stuff, but this one just came out recently, and it's sort of, I think, the most wide-ranging one about his whole kind of development as an artist and as a cultural figure, and it's just like laughs on every page, but also, yeah, everything you can imagine from John Waters.
I will say, based on his cover photo, he's looking more and more like Helena Bonham Carter every day.
Oh my gosh, that's
I hope they eventually will merge into one person.
Yeah, exactly. She just needs the mustache.
Yes.
That's all.
What about the opposite? What if there's a book that I want everyone to know that I'm reading? I'm definitely not going to buy it for my e-reader. I'm going to read it on the train, and people are going to think very highly of me.
Right. So I read a couple for that because we have a couple prestige reads this season. So my personal favorite is this one, The Old Drift, which I think was a little bit of a sleeper, but then it started getting this like word of mouth buzz, and people were coming in being like, do you have this book? So Namwali Serpell, the author, is from Zambia. She teaches at Berkeley now, but this book is kind of like an epic history of Zambia, which sounds like a long shot. Like, why is this the book that I want to read this summer? But it's just so, like, sentence by sentence, it's so gorgeous. Like, I literally looked up and was like, damn, that is a great sentence. But the characters are larger than life. It's this whole sort of intersecting multi-generational family story. And there's like a little bit of magical realism in it. There's sort of a Greek chorus of mosquitoes, who are like the only consistent thing from like the 19th century to like the near future in Zambia. But it's so imaginative and absorbing, but like also some really good literary cred that you're like, oh, I'm just reading this hot new Zambian author, you know.
Oh, you haven't
no big
heard
deal.
about it?
You haven't heard of her?
Okay, weird.
But yeah, but she's fantastic. She is the real thing. It's like, it's always nice when like it lives up to the hype. She's so good. So this is like one of my favorite reads this season.
It sounds like a Gabrielle Garcia Marquez, but in Zambia.
Exactly. There's definitely an element of that, but very contemporary.
I feel like this is sort of a trend that we're seeing in literature with pachinko, these sort of like multi-generational epics set in a country that feels a little bit like you're traveling somewhere if you're stuck here in New York for the summer.
Exactly. It's armchair travel.
What else do you have?
Then this is the other one. Honestly, this is like the it book of the season, Sally Rooney's Normal People. We cannot keep it on the shelves. It's very literary, almost quiet in terms of story. It's a sort of like interclass romance, and you know, not super exotic, but the writing is just so exact and intimate, and she is just so amazing, and she's just been getting buzz after buzz after buzz. So we're actually going to be hosting her in the store this fall, and we're like, is our store big enough to hold all of the Sally Rooney fans? I'm not really sure that it is, so we're still figuring that out. But this is the one that you're like, have you read the new Sally Rooney? Yes or no? Are you in or out? So this is definitely the one that you want to be able to say, yes, you've read Normal People.
How many books has she written before Normal People?
She wrote Conversations with Friends, was her previous book, so I believe this is her second. So that one was sort of like beginning to build her buzz, and this one just like exploded.
This is the book that maybe you just casually leave out on the bar on a first date.
Absolutely, and be like, oh, Normal People. Yes, there you go.
What about, I'm pretty superficial, I just want to read a book with a good cover. Give me the book that I can judge by the cover.
So I brought two for that one as well. These are, and I mean, obviously taste is subjective. Like, these are my favorite covers. I don't know if they're going to work for everybody. But
are they covers for women or are they covers for men?
I didn't really think of it in those terms. I'm sorry. So it depends on the man or the woman, I guess.
Right. Good answer. And could you describe them as well for our podcast listeners?
Sure. Okay. So the first one is Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey, and it's a bright red cover with bright yellow words for the title, and it has a picture of a hand with crossed fingers. But the hand is black, and on the wrist of the hand there's an open eye.
This is great. This is drawing me in like, oh, I'm like kind of dabbling in tarot. I also like, you know, good graphic design. I get it. I get it.
It's very dramatic, and it's a really fun story. It's honestly a little bit, if you had a category for like overgrown Harry Potter fans, like this one is there. It's set in a magical school in LA, which, like, you can imagine as a slightly different culture from Hogwarts.
Sure.
And it's a detective who's the non-magical sister, and her sister is at the school for magicians. So there's a lot of kind of like tension and resentment between the magic and the non-magic sister. So she's trying to solve a mystery that's happened at this school for magic. But it turns out that like magic students are just as much punks and you know, like children as kids at any other school. So it's really fun, very unexpected, but also kind of like hits all of those fun buttons for fantasy lovers. But yeah, it is a very dramatic cover.
Would this also be a good book for, say, like an advanced middle reader?
There's definitely some sex and violence elements that would kind of depend on the kid and the parent. It's definitely not written for kids. It's written for adults. But I think a kid would really be into it if they could get their hands on it.
All right.
Which is the best kind. And then another one of my favorite reads for the summer, this one is Washington Black by Essie Edugan. I may not be pronouncing her name correctly. She's a Canadian writer, but the book is set all over the world. So the cover is very sort of like Victorian looking almost. It's like pale yellow, and it has like some drawings of trees, and then right in the middle there's a gondola, like a boat, but attached to a hot air balloon, and a couple of figures that you can just barely see, and some oars coming out of the boat.
This is like a steampunk tattoo that is definitely on somebody's body in Brooklyn.
Absolutely. I hope so. I want to meet that person. But it's evocative of this, definitely a little bit steampunk, but it's almost like a Dickensian, just sort of big, epic adventure kind of story. It starts on a slave plantation in Barbados, and a young man is sort of like enslaved/adopted by the brother of the man who actually owns him. But in that man ends up being a scientist who's working on air travel via gondola, and they end up having adventures all over the world together. So it kind of has all of those satisfactions of like a Victorian adventure novel, but with a very contemporary sensibility about race and gender and class and everything else. So it's like super fun, but also not dumb. And so you can look at that cover and maybe start to get a sense of what's exciting about it.
And I see it was also shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize.
Exactly,
as well.
and it won the
So
Giller
cred.
Prize, which in Canada is a huge deal. We aren't that aware of the Giller Prize, but it's awesome, and she is an amazing writer.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Last category, books for people who lie about how much they read, but mainly they just play Candy Crush on their phones.
So the one I chose for this one is When Brooklyn Was Queer by Hugh Ryan.
This is a great book, and we also had Hugh on the show talking
Yes.
about it a couple months ago.
Yeah. So this one I chose because I feel like you should have read this book as like a culturally literate Brooklynite because it's so local and it's so contemporary. Obviously, this is a big year for like queer history, is the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. But Hugh Ryan's point is that Brooklyn has this sort of very under-discussed queer history. And so that's the book sort of aims to sort of uncover that and like bring it back into light. So it's a lot of stuff that you should know and great stuff to like drop at cocktail parties, but I feel like you don't necessarily have to read it to get some of those really good tidbits because there are great photographs, there are great captions.
That's why there
all
are
of these
pictures
like,
in it.
Exactly. So you can have it around and you can pretend that you've read it when you all actually just have like pulled some little bits of trivia about it to like add to the conversation.
That was a hard category, and I think you did a great job because
Thanks.
also with fiction, you can bullshit a little bit easier
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, yeah, the magical realism really carried me away, or the language is so beautiful. But, you know, with nonfiction, you have to actually have a fact to pull out of your hat.
Right.
Out
But
of
you
your
can
bowler
pull some
hat.
facts out of this and yeah, you'll be looking good.
Well, what a great summer reading list. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.